interconnect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles, and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. And joining me today is from our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Alma. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Charlene Navaja from your Vietnam Bureau, bringing you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, the crew of an Indonesian passenger jet that crashed before it suddenly plunged into the sea, according to an investigator on Monday.
Baginda Yang Di-Pertuan Agong, let me assure
Malaysia's king Tuesday declared a nationwide state of emergency to fight a coronavirus surge that is overwhelming hospitals, with critics charging it was a move by an unstable government to cling to power.
Thai health workers tackled a new wave of COVID-19, hopeful that the country's outbreak is slowing down. Since late December, the total number of cases in the country has doubled to more than 10,000.
The cabinet also learned.
And Fitch Ratings retained the Philippines investment grade credit rating of BBB with stable outlook.
First, the crew of an Indonesian passenger jet that crashed off Jakarta the weekend with 62 people aboard did not declare an emergency or report technical problems before it suddenly plunged into the sea, according to an investigator last night. So far, inspectors have so far been unable to say why the 26-year-old plane crashed just 4 minutes after takeoff, but they do know the location of the black boxes. A recording of conversations with air traffic control pointed to routine exchanges, and there was no communication as the Sriwijaya Air Boeing 737-500 plunged about 10,000 feet in less than a minute before slamming into the Java Sea. According to the National Transportation Safety Committee investigator Nurkaiho Utomo, there were 62-year-old father of 3 who, like many Indonesians, goes by one name, was a former Air Force pilot with decades of flying under his belt, according to local media. Some of the 2,600 personnel working in the recovery effort, involving dozens of boats and helicopters, are hauling. But into Saturday's crash is likely to take months. Aviation analysts said flight tracking data showed that the plane sharply deviated from its intended course before it went into a steep dive, with bad weather, pilot error, and mechanical malfunction among the potential factors. Sriwijaya Air, which flies to destinations in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, has said little about the plane, which was previously flown by U.S.-based Continental Airlines and United Airlines.
And at least 11 people were killed, including a 6-year-old boy, and scores more were missing after a deadly landslide hit Indonesia's West Java province, authorities said Sunday.
Malaysia's king on Tuesday declared a nationwide state of emergency to fight a coronavirus surge that is overwhelming hospitals, with critics charging it was a move by an unstable government to cling to power. Now, the announcement came a day after the Prime Minister introduced sweeping new curbs across much of the Southeast Asian nation, including the closure of most businesses, and warned the health system was at breaking point. Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah agreed to declare an emergency until August 1, following a request from Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin in a Monday meeting, the National Palace said in a statement. The move also allows for the suspension of which could lead to the collapse of the government and snap national polls that some fear could worsen the outbreak. The emergency could be lifted earlier if the rate of infection slows, according to the palace. An election in the state of Sabah last year has been blamed for triggering a new wave of infections that spread nationwide. But critics express worries that the declaration, rarely used in Malaysia, was a gambit to cling to power by Muhyiddin that could erode civil liberties.
As we heard, Malaysia declared a nationwide state of emergency Tuesday to fight a coronavirus surge that is overwhelming the hospitals, but critics charge it was a bid by an unstable government to cling to power. In a televised address, Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin said that the country's kill August 1st this year. The leader, whose 10-month-old government faces a host of challenges, insisted that the civilian government will continue to function.
Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong, let me assure you that the civilian government will continue to function. The emergency proclaimed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is not a military coup, and curfew will not be enforced. Now, to all the stakeholders keenly monitoring what is happening in Malaysia, I emphasize that Malaysia is open for business. In facing these challenging times, this period of emergency will give us much needed calm and stability, as well as
Muhyiddin first tried to persuade the king to declare an emergency in October, but was rebuffed. The last time an emergency was declared nationally was in 1969 in response to deadly racial riots. Malaysia has been in political turmoil since March last year when Muhyiddin came to power without an election following days. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin announced a 2-week partial lockdown will be imposed in the worst-hit parts of the country from Wednesday, with all non-essential businesses to close.
The Philippines has secured 30 million doses of a COVID-19 vaccine developed by U.S. drug maker Novavax, as the country braces for a surge in infections after a huge Catholic religious event. Now, this is the only second vaccine deal signed by the national government, which has faced growing criticism for its slowness in procuring jabs for the archipelago, where nearly 500,000 infections have been recorded. It hopes to secure 148 million doses this year from 7 companies, enough for around 70% of its population. But the government has warned it will depend on global supply. In an agreement with the Serum Institute of India, or SII, the world's largest vaccine maker, the Philippines will buy 30 million doses of the jab developed by Novavax, the government's vaccine task force said in a statement. The price hasn't been finalized, but the vaccine will be available from the third quarter. The Novavax vaccine is in late-stage human trials in the U.S., Mexico, and Britain, and is expected to be approved for use by international regulators.
A 1-year-old and a 2-year-old toddler who arrived from India were among the 22 new coronavirus cases confirmed on Monday, yesterday. According to the Straits Times, both girls, the baby is a short-term visit pass holder, while the toddler is a dependent pass holder. They were asymptomatic and tested positive for the virus on Sunday. Monday's new cases were all imported, taking Singapore's total to 58,929. The Ministry of Health also said 2 additional cases have been linked to the new Ocean 6 cluster, which now has a total of 11 confirmed cases. The 2 newly linked cases are sea crew and who worked on board the bunker tanker. They had been identified as close contacts of a previously confirmed case and were placed on quarantine on December 31st. They tested positive for the virus on Sunday.
Meanwhile, Indonesia's Food and Drug Agency granted emergency use approval to a COVID-19 vaccine developed by China's Sinovac Biotech. Indonesia became the first country outside China to give the regulatory green light to the vaccine. Interim data from a late-stage human test in Indonesia showed the shot was 65.3% effective, according to Penny K. Lokito, who heads the country's Food and Drugs Authority, BPOM. A Brazil-based trial showed also last week that Sinovac's vaccine candidate is 78% effective, while Turkish researchers said in December the vaccine showed 91.25% efficacy based on interim analysis. Indonesia is also struggling with the worst COVID-19 outbreak in Southeast Asia. It has reported 836,718 COVID-19 infections and more than 24,000 deaths. Indonesia has received 3 million doses of Sinovac's vaccine, named CoronaVac, and is slated to receive some 122.5 million more that will come in bulks.
Thai health workers tackle a new wave of COVID-19, hopeful that the country's outbreak is slowing down. Since late December, the total number of cases in the country has doubled to more than 10,000.
So since the new wave of COVID-19 outbreak in Bangkok, we are receiving much more people from our regular number. So we have to start it to have a quota for each day. Right now our quota is 400 people per day. And we divided the testing into doing swab for RT-PCR and also rapid test from finger prick blood. So in the beginning of the outbreak, since our first wave in Thailand, we started off with no negative pressure room, but just we were wearing just PPE in a really hot climate. But after that, we were kind enough to have a donation from private sectors. We got donated this negative pressure room, so the staffs would not have to be wearing PPE. In this past few days, we are starting to see, a stable number of people infected per day, 100, 200 per day. So hopefully, it would stay like that and the number would come down, hopefully in this few weeks.
Thailand reported 249 new coronavirus cases on Monday, bringing the total number of infections to 10,547 since it detected its first case almost a year ago. The tally included 25 cases imported from abroad. According to the country's COVID-19 task force, there were no new deaths reported. Thailand has recorded 67 coronavirus-related fatalities so far.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Factual,
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
timely information, balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas! A one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Agila Probinsya.
Sa mga taga-Iloilo at Antique,
Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science, and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
well, thank you to thank our help outdoor
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Unique ang voice mo, napagaling mo.
You have a crystal powerful voice.
Ang galing.
I really enjoyed your performance.
Isa na ang nakaabang sa January Finals. Sino naman kaya sa panibagong set of singers ang kakasa sa mas pinatinding hamon ng ating kompetisyon? Malalaman natin yan dito po sa biggest talent competition on Philippine TV and online. Ito po ang Taging Senegalese Part 2 Singing Edition.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng pinabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
And we're still following the developments on the Indonesian plane crash. The divers returned Tuesday to the wreckage-littered seabed of Jakarta in their hunt for the black boxes that will likely be key to unlocking the mystery of why the passenger jet carrying 62 people fell from the sky. Some 3,600 personnel are taking part in the recovery effort, assisted by dozens of boats and helicopters flying over small islands off the capital's coast. Underwater images earlier showed from Indonesia's Navy showed divers plumbing the murky depths as they combed through twisted wreckage from the Sriwijaya Air Boeing 737-500, which plunged about 10,000 feet in less than a minute before slamming into the Java Sea on Saturday. Authorities have so far been unable to explain why the 26-year-old plane crashed just 4 minutes after takeoff. But they say they have the approximate location of the black boxes after picking up signals from the devices, which record information about the speed, the altitude, and the direction of the plane, as well as the flight crew conversations. Now, the black box under layers of mud or plane wreckage in waters about 75 feet deep, and divers have to grapple with a strong current and poor weather. The agency also deployed a remotely operated vehicle to assist the divers as investigators examine recovered parts of the wreckage at Trolls as it left Jakarta bound for Pontianak City on Borneo Island on a 90-minute flight. National Transportation Safety Committee investigator Morcayo Otomo said Monday that the crew did not declare an emergency or report technical problems before its dive. The available data suggested it was most likely the plane was intact when it hit the water Saturday. The crash probe was likely to take months. Aviation analysts said flight tracking data showed that the plane sharply deviated from its intended course before it went into a steep dive, with bad weather, pilot error, and mechanical malfunction among the potential factors.
Another Nigerian national was killed in a buy-bust operation that netted 13.6 million Philippine peso worth of shabu in Pasig City. The Philippine National Police Drug Enforcement Group, or PNP-DEG, said on Tuesday. In a report to Kamkrame, DEG Director Brigadier General Ronald Lee identified the fatality as Christopher Chukwuma, a member of the West African drug syndicate who lures Filipinos to become drug mules for them. The operation was conducted in an inn along Scarpent Road in Barangay Bagong Ilog at 5:30 p.m. on Monday. The operation led to an armed encounter that resulted in the death of Chukwuma. The report said Chukwuma, upon sensing that he was dealing with police officers, grabbed the firearm of the poser buyer. This prompted arresting police officers to shoot the suspect as an act of self-defense. Chukwuma yielded 2 pieces of transparent plastic shabu weighing more or less 2 kilograms and budol money. He was able to escape from an earlier buy-bust operation in Tarlac last December 31st, 2020, where his companion, identified as Gabriel Onyechifula, as a Nigerian national, was killed.
Malacanang has directed the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, to immediately impose sanctions on internet service providers, or ISPs, that allow their platforms to be used for online child exploitation. In a virtual press briefing, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said the rise of cases of online sexual abuse and exploitation of children during the pandemic has caught the attention of President Duterte. Nograles noted that suspicious transaction reports related to online sexual exploitation of children during the pandemic more than doubled, from 19,000 in 2019 to 47,937 in 2020. Let's take a look.
The Department of Justice, particularly the DOJ Interagency Council Against Trafficking, or IACAT. It has been discovered, however, that the pandemic has contributed to, or even been used and taken advantage of, as we see the disturbing rise of online sexual exploitation cases in the country, the victims of which have a median age of only 11 years old. Nakakabahala po ang numero. Suspicious transaction reports related to online sexual exploitation during the pandemic more than doubled From 19,000 in 2019, it has now ballooned to 47,937 in 2020. To address this, the government is adopting the recommendations of the Department of Justice, which are as follows. First, to direct the NTC to immediately impose sanctions on internet service providers or ISPs for failure to fulfill their duties under Republic Act 9775. These duties, may we remind the ISPs, include, number one, immediately notifying the PNP or NBI within 7 days upon knowledge thereof that its server or facility is being used for child pornography. Number two, preserving evidence for purpose of investigation and prosecution. Number three, furnishing particulars of users involved in child pornography. And number four, most importantly for the ISPs, installing available technology to intercept or block, immediately block access to child porn. Second, to issue an executive order that will pave the way for, number one, the strengthened cooperation between IACAT, the Interagency Council Against Child Pornography, and other relevant agencies. Number two, the formulation of a case management protocol. And number three, the streamlining of online sexual exploitation information dissemination efforts to be headed by the PCOO. Pangatlo, and we call on Congress for this, to certify as priority the passage of bills pending in Congress to amend Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act that, number one, exempt trafficking in persons from the anti-wiretapping law. Number two, to broaden the membership of the IACAT. And number three, to impose obligations on ISPs and tourism establishments, all in the effort for us to destroy child pornography in the Philippines. Pang-apat, to strengthen the IACAT by providing plantilla positions and additional funding. Malinaw po na hindi hahayaan ng gobyerno na madagdagan pa ang biktima ng sexual exploitation sa gitna ng kinakaharap nating pandemya.
All right, Charlene and I will be back after this short break.
It is now time to build confidence. Obviously, we reached a stage wherein the situation has affected all aspects of life. We are overwhelmed by the flood of information all around. This has in effect created a sense of uncertainty and put all of us in a vulnerable position. But we must not allow COVID to take away the very way of life of our citizens, nor take away the hope from us that we will overcome this together. There is no such thing as too much caution or too much preparation, and therefore we must be fully prepared. For all of us, the global COVID crisis revealed three fundamental issues that are common challenges. We ask ourselves, how will we be better prepared, provide stronger frontline support? How do we build more robust coordination in all fronts? How do we keep our guard up in the months ahead and balance life in the new normal? And on sufficiency, how do we adjust ourselves to live without the overindulgence of the pre-COVID world? And there are underlying challenges of producing a vaccine, of boosting the post-COVID economy in the long term towards a future of global sustainability. Fighting COVID is now a global social responsibility, not only as citizens of your own countries, but as citizens of the world. It takes leadership, and sacrifice and discipline from all of us. It is often said that in times of crisis, the true character of a person is revealed. We will together show the world our character. Have faith in each other, and wherever you call home, let's re-emerge stronger and better. We've learned many lessons, and next time around, we hope to improve and take crisis communication to a whole new level.
This is all I have for the English language summary of the daily press briefing for today. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a very pleasant afternoon. Please keep tab of the news and the announcements over the weekend. So hope for your full cooperation until then and beyond. So thank you very much. Sawasdee krap.
Welcome back, ASEAN in Focus. Fitch Ratings retained the Philippines investment grade credit rating of BBB with stable outlook.
The cabinet also learned last night that credit rating agency Fitch Ratings affirms its BBB rating for the Philippines and stable outlook for its economy, as it expects us to continue bouncing back this year due to our vaccination program. Due in part to our vaccination program. Ang mga ito po ay mga overview ng mga tinalakay sa gabinete sa cabinet meeting kagabi. Marami pong mga detalye ang mga ahensya na nakatutok sa mga agenda items na ito, and we will work with the concerned agencies to flesh out these details in the days to come. Mga kababayan, sa patuloy natin na pakikipagbuno sa pandemya, mga sakuna at iba pa, sa pagharap natin sa mga parating pa na mga hamon at pagsubok, kasali na dyan ang kagutuman. Kailangan nating magtulungan.
Fitch said it expects Philippine economic activity to continue to recover in the coming quarters and project GDP to expand by 6.9% and 8% in 2021 and 2022, respectively. New daily recorded COVID-19 cases have been declining in recent months, reflecting an effective government response to the crisis and reducing the risk of renewed lockdowns. It said the authorities have also engaged in multilateral initiatives with several pharmaceutical companies to secure vaccines, with a rollout expected to start in May 2021. The potential for a delay poses downside risk to our growth forecast, while an effective vaccine rollout could result in a faster than expected recovery in growth.
Meanwhile, Fitch Ratings' affirmation of its BBB investment grade rating with stable outlook for the Philippines is expected to attract more investments given the country's improved fundamentals. In a reply to emailed questions from Philippine News Agency, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation Chief Economist Michael Ricafort said this, quote, signals resilience and would also encourage the entry of more foreign investments or foreign direct investments, FDIs, amid improved economic and credit fundamentals of the country, thereby increasing international investor confidence and sentiment on the country and generating more employment and other business economic activities in the country as needed to help sustain economic recovery, rebound after the COVID-19 lockdowns. He said the improved economic and credit fundamentals of the Philippines in recent years, amid attractive demographics with the 12th largest population in the world at about 110 million, would make the Philippines a compelling investment destination, an additional hedge for the global supply chain of various global multinational companies looking for increased growth sales, thereby making the country as an attractive production and marketing hub, as well as an attractive entry point to the other free trade agreement or FTA partner countries of the Philippines.
Longest road tunnel in central Vietnam open to traffic. And more updates with our EBC correspondent in Da Nang, Eliana.
Hello, Charlene. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
what's your update?
Yes, here's an update from the online newspaper of Vietnam. After more than 4 years of construction, the Hai Van Tunnel 2, or Southeast Asia's longest road tunnel, which is in central Vietnam, opened to traffic on November 11. The tunnel, which connects Hoa Tien Hue province with the central city of Da Nang, measuring 6.29 kilometers, would help minimize traffic pressure on Hai Van Road Tunnel 1, a part of Hai Van Pass, which rises 500 meters above sea. The new two-lane tunnel runs alongside Tunnel 1 on National Highway 1A. Deputy Prime Minister Trinh Dinh Duong mentioned during the inauguration ceremony of the new tunnel that although it is a big and complex project, it became successful through the Vietnamese investors and contractors' competence and technical prowess. The new tunnel would serve a great purpose on the promotion of socio-economic development in the central region and also the congruence between the region and the areas around it, particularly the Central Highlands. Now, another update, this time from Vietnam Express International. The northern highlands of Vietnam, including Sapa, had caught the attention of many Vietnamese as thick white snow enveloped the region, which occurred due to drizzles at low temperature. Since Sunday night, the O Quy Ho mountain pass in Lai Châu province and Sapa, a popular tourist town in Lao Cai province, had been covered with snow. On Monday, Sapa, at a height of 1,500 meters above sea level, has recorded temperatures dropping -1 degree Celsius, while Lai Châu Sinh Ho mountainous district to -2 degrees Celsius. The cold snap due to a strong cold front experienced in the northern region had been going for 5 days and is projected to last until Wednesday. According to a resident in O Quy Ho named Pham Ngoc Quan, snow began falling more heavily Monday morning with a 1 centimeter up to 3 centimeter layer from the middle of the pass to its top. A resident from Lao Cai named Pu Suito said that snow culminated in a layer of 7 up to 10 centimeters. The unusual sight of frost and snow had brought a great number of tourists to northern mountainous regions like Sapa and O Quy Ho. Weather experts mentioned that the unusual colder winter of Vietnam this year was due to surface temperature drop in the Pacific Ocean, which resulted to a La Nina phenomenon. A typical average of 27 cold air waves from the north should be expected by the country this winter. Back to you, Charlene.
Thank you so much for your updates, Eliana. I heard about Sapa. I really want to go, but I don't think I can.
Yeah,
so, yeah. Anyway, so you stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Charlene. You stay safe too. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. This is Eliana Faith Sebastian. We live in interesting times.
Now, back in Manila, President Duterte has ordered a stop to all mining operations in Tumbagaan Island in Languyan, Tawi-Tawi, and he also directed the massive rehabilitation of this area. In a virtual presser today, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said that the president issued a directive during the full cabinet meeting Monday night following reports that the island has been devastated as a result of mining operations. Let's listen in.
Since the beginning of his administration, the president has repeatedly stressed the importance of protecting our environment and strictly implementing environmental laws. His commitment to preserve the environment was evident when he ordered the closure and rehabilitation of Boracay. And it is evident as well in his directives to ensure that mining companies comply with the laws, rules, and regulations that govern their operations. Kaya naman po, isa sa mga tinalakay ng gabinete kagabi ay ang mining operations sa Tumbagan Island sa Languyan, Tawi-Tawi. The President is very much concerned about reports that the island has been completely devastated as a result of mining operations in the area. The island has, at this point, been mined out. And while rehabilitation efforts are underway, the President is issuing a directive to stop any and all mining in Tumbagan Island and to step up the rehabilitation of the area by planting more trees and other efforts of rehabilitation. More actions will be considered as more light is shed regarding the state of the island and the conduct of mining operations in the area.
Nograles also said more actions will be considered after more light is shed regarding the state of the island and the conduct of the mining operations in the area. He stressed the president's commitment to preserving the environment, which is evident in his directives to ensure that mining companies comply with laws, rules, regulations that govern the operations.
Indonesia's men's doubles top seeds have been forced to pull out of next week's Thailand Open badminton after one of them, Kevin Sanjaya Sukamuljo, tested positive for coronavirus, the Badminton World Federation said. The withdrawal of Sukamuljo and Marcus Fernaldi Gideon, affectionately known as the Minions, is the latest loss for badminton's restart tournament, which is already missing the star-studded Chinese and Japanese teams over coronavirus concerns. Sukamuljo developed coronavirus symptoms last month, including a loss of taste and smell and a mild flu, according to the BWF website. After testing positive, he has been recovering in isolation at his home. The Thailand Open is the first of 3 tournaments scheduled to take place in Bangkok in consecutive weeks, kick-starting the world tour after a coronavirus-ravaged 2020.
And finally, in our news, a wretched spell for badminton ends at this week's Thailand Open, where players will emerge from hotel quarantine to restart the World Tour in bubble conditions in Bangkok. The world's top players, minus China and Japan, who were forced to pull out, have been bursting for a return to action after a build-up that has included long, lonely hours in their hotel rooms. Now, Olympic champion Carolina Marin posted a video of herself earlier working out with a hotel towel. World number 1 Tai Tzu Ying used water bottles as weights. Denmark's Anders Antonsen practiced serving shuttlecocks into his sneakers. The Thailand Open is the first of 3 consecutive tournaments played in strict bio-secure conditions and behind closed doors in Bangkok, culminating in the World Tour Finals from January 27. Hello, Charlene. Thank you very much for joining me today. That snow cap in, where's that? Sapa?
Sapa, yes, Alma.
Yes, that is. Is that a rare thing for Vietnam? Or do you always get that?
Not all the time. It's actually rare, but 4 years ago when I came here, I actually heard that that place really has snow when it's winter. But 2 years ago and last year, it wasn't so cold. So
it didn't snow that time.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it didn't. Yeah, but this time, correspondent Ralph actually mentioned that we should go there and take you there to see and focus. But I don't think I can move.
Yeah, me too. And I don't think we can travel for now, but soon, maybe, hopefully.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Thank you very much, Charlene, for joining me today. As always, thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, always.
Yes. Likewise, Alma. So this has been Charlene Navarra from your ABC Vietnam Bureau. We live in interesting times.
And that is the latest news in the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.